There was a time when you questioned why everything seemed harder for you than for others. You watched people move ahead while your own path felt filled with obstacles, delays, and unexpected battles. You prayed for answers, but heaven seemed silent. You gave your best effort, yet the results did not arrive when you expected. In those moments, it was easy to believe that you had been forgotten, overlooked, or somehow left behind. But what if the very struggles that made you feel abandoned were actually proof that God was paying close attention to your journey? God's chosen ones often walk through seasons that others cannot understand. The reason is simple: preparation always comes before promotion. Before a person can carry greater blessings, greater responsibility, and greater purpose, their character must be strengthened. Gold is tested in fire not because it is worthless, but because it is valuable. In the same way, the challenges you faced were never meant to destroy you. They were designed to reveal what was already inside you. Think about the battles you survived. There were moments when you wanted to give up. There were days when disappointment weighed heavily on your heart. Some people walked away from your life when you needed them most. Doors closed without explanation. Opportunities disappeared just when they seemed within reach. Yet somehow, despite all of it, you kept moving forward. You may not have felt strong, but every step you took was evidence of a strength that God was building within you. What many people fail to understand is that divine testing is different from punishment. Punishment is meant to correct wrongdoing, but testing is meant to prepare someone for something greater. When God allows challenges into the life of a chosen person, He is not trying to break them. He is teaching them endurance, wisdom, patience, and faith. Every difficult situation carried a lesson. Every delay carried a purpose. Every disappointment was shaping you into someone capable of handling what is coming next. There were times when nothing made sense. You prayed for one outcome and received another. You expected support and found yourself standing alone. You looked for certainty and were met with confusion. Yet even in those moments, something remarkable was happening behind the scenes. While you were focusing on the problem, God was focusing on your preparation. While you were asking why things were happening, He was preparing you for where you were going. The truth is that many people want the blessing, but few are willing to endure the process required to receive it. The process is uncomfortable because it forces growth. It exposes weaknesses that need strengthening. It reveals fears that need overcoming. It teaches trust when circumstances provide no visible reason to trust. And through every challenge, your faith was being refined. Perhaps you did not realize it at the time, but every trial became a test of your character. Would you remain kind when others treated you unfairly? Would you continue believing when the evidence seemed against you? Would you stay faithful when progress appeared invisible? These questions were not being asked to make your life harder. They were revealing the strength of your spirit. And here is what makes your story different. You passed. Not because you were perfect, not because you never doubted, not because you never struggled. You passed because you continued moving forward despite the struggle. You kept believing despite the uncertainty. You kept standing even when life tried to knock you down. That perseverance is what set you apart. Many people only see the outcome of a person's journey, but God sees every hidden sacrifice. He sees every tear that nobody else noticed. He sees every prayer whispered in the middle of the night. He sees every moment when you chose faith instead of fear. None of it was wasted. Every act of endurance was recorded. Every lesson was stored. Every challenge was adding another layer of strength to your foundation. Now, as you look back, you may begin to understand something powerful. The obstacles were not roadblocks, they were training grounds. The delays were not denials, they were preparation periods. The battles were not signs of failure, they were evidence that you were being shaped for something significant. The season of testing has revealed what many never discovered about themselves. It revealed resilience. It revealed courage. It revealed a faith that could survive storms. Most importantly, it revealed that God could trust you with greater responsibilities because you remained faithful during the difficult seasons. What once felt like a burden was actually preparation. What once looked like rejection was often protection. What once seemed like silence was God working in ways you could not yet see. And now, as the purpose behind these tests begins to unfold, you will understand why every challenge mattered. Because you were tested for a reason, and you passed. After all the tests you endured, there was one thing that separated you from many others who started the journey alongside you. Your faith remained alive. It may not have been perfect, it may not have been strong every single day. There were moments when fear spoke louder than confidence, when doubt whispered questions into your mind, and when exhaustion made you wonder if continuing was worth it. Yet, despite all of that, you never completely let go of your trust in God. That is what matters. Many people think faith is only real when life is going well. They believe faith is easy when prayers are answered quickly, when doors open without resistance, and when blessings arrive exactly on schedule. But true faith is revealed when none of those things happen. True faith is revealed in the waiting. It is revealed in the silence. It is revealed when you continue believing even though you cannot yet see the outcome. There were seasons when it felt like nothing was changing. You prayed the same prayers over and over again. You carried burdens that nobody else could see. You hoped for breakthroughs that seemed delayed month after month, maybe even year after year. In those moments, you had every reason to walk away from your faith. You had every reason to become bitter, discouraged, or hopeless. Yet something deep inside you refused to quit. That persistence was not an accident. It was evidence of a spiritual strength that God had been developing within you all along. Every challenge that came against you was testing whether your faith depended on circumstances or whether it depended on your trust in God. Anyone can believe when they see immediate results, but chosen ones are called to believe before the results appear. Think about how many times you faced disappointment, plans failed, relationships changed, opportunities disappeared, expectations were shattered. There were moments when it felt as if life was moving in the opposite direction of everything you had prayed for. Yet somehow, even after every setback, you found the courage to pray again. You found the strength to hope again. You found a reason to keep moving forward. That kind of faith cannot be manufactured. It can only be developed through experience. Every battle taught you something. Every delay strengthened your patience. Every closed door pushed you closer to dependence on God instead of dependence on circumstances. While you thought you were simply surviving difficult seasons, God was teaching you how to trust Him at a deeper level. The remarkable thing is that many of the greatest victories happen long before the visible breakthrough arrives. The real victory occurs when a person chooses faith instead of surrender. The real victory happens when someone continues believing despite uncertainty. The real victory is winning the battle inside your heart before the external situation changes, and that is exactly what happened in your journey. The enemy may have expected the pressure to break you. The disappointments may have been designed to discourage you. The delays may have seemed endless, yet your faith remained standing. Even when it was shaken, it remained standing. Even when it felt small, it remained standing. Even when you questioned everything around you, a part of you still believed that God had not forgotten your name. What you did not realize was that heaven was watching your response. Every time you chose faith over fear, you were passing another test. Every time you continued trusting instead of quitting, you were proving that your relationship with God was genuine. Every time you got back up after disappointment, you demonstrated a level of spiritual maturity that could not be learned any other way. This is why your journey has been different from the journeys of many others. God was not only preparing blessings for you, He was preparing you for the blessings. There is a significant difference. A blessing received without preparation can be lost. A blessing received after preparation becomes part of a greater purpose. Now, as you stand at the edge of a new season, understand what your faith has accomplished. It has carried you through storms that should have stopped you. It has protected your spirit during seasons of confusion. It has kept you connected to God's plan when everything around you suggested giving up. You may not have understood every step of the process, but your faith continued moving forward anyway. That is why this moment matters. That is why the waiting was not wasted. That is why the struggles were not meaningless. Because while others were measuring success by visible results, heaven was measuring the condition of your heart, and your faith has proven strong. For a long time, it may have felt as though you were living in a season that would never end. Every day seemed to bring more questions than answers. You kept moving forward, but the destination remained hidden. You prayed, waited, believed, and endured, yet nothing appeared to change. The silence felt heavy. The uncertainty felt endless. There were moments when you wondered if you were stuck in a cycle that would continue forever. But what you could not see was that the season of waiting was never permanent. It was a chapter, not the entire story. And now something significant is happening. The hidden season is ending. Many chosen ones spend part of their journey in what feels like isolation. During this period, God often works behind the scenes in ways that are impossible to understand in the moment. While you focus on what is not happening, heaven is arranging what needs to happen. While you are looking at closed doors, God is preparing the right door. While you are wondering why certain people left, God is removing distractions that no longer belong in your future. The difficult part about a hidden season is that there is very little visible evidence of progress. You can be growing without feeling stronger. You can be moving closer to your purpose without seeing any signs. You can be receiving preparation while believing nothing is happening at all. This is why so many people become discouraged during the process. They mistake invisibility for inactivity, yet God often does His greatest work in hidden places. Think about a seed planted beneath the ground. For a period of time, nothing can be seen on the surface. To an observer, it may appear as though nothing is happening. But underneath the soil, roots are forming, strength is developing, preparation is taking place. The seed is becoming capable of supporting future growth. Only after this hidden work is complete does the visible breakthrough begin. Your life has followed a similar pattern. The reason some opportunities were delayed is because the foundation was still being built. The reason some prayers seemed unanswered is because timing matters. The reason certain doors remained closed is because they were not connected to the future God intended for you. What felt like stagnation was often protection. What felt like delay was often preparation. Now you are approaching a transition point. The signs may be subtle at first. new understanding begins to emerge, new opportunities start appearing. New connections enter your life. Clarity gradually replaces confusion. The things that once felt impossible begin to feel achievable. Not because circumstances suddenly changed overnight, but because the hidden work has reached a stage where it can finally become visible. This is why you should not judge your journey solely by what happened yesterday. A season can appear unchanged for years and then transform rapidly in a short period of time. What seemed impossible can become possible. What seemed distant can suddenly move within reach. What seemed lost can be restored in ways you never expected. Many chosen ones become discouraged just before their season changes because they assume the future will look exactly like the past. They see the repeated delays and conclude that more delays are coming. They see previous disappointments and expect more disappointment. But God does not operate according to human expectations. He can shift a situation at the exact moment people least expect it. The truth is that the hidden season could never last forever. It had a purpose. It had an assignment. It had lessons that needed to be learned and strength that needed to be developed. Once that work reached completion, the season itself began moving toward its conclusion. This is why you may feel different lately. There may be a growing sense that something is changing, a quiet expectation, a feeling that the chapter you have been living through is coming to a close. Even if you cannot fully explain it, your spirit recognizes that movement is taking place. The struggles of the hidden season were not meaningless. Every challenge refined you. Every disappointment taught you something valuable. Every moment of waiting developed qualities that will serve you in the next chapter. Nothing was wasted. And now, as the hidden season begins to lift, you are positioned to see things from a completely different perspective. The questions that once troubled you may soon receive answers. The confusion that once surrounded you may soon be replaced by understanding. The silence that once seemed endless may soon give way to revelation. You are not where you were when this journey began. You are stronger, wiser, more prepared, more capable of handling what comes next. The hidden season is ending and the next chapter is about to unfold. As the hidden season begins to come to an end, something else starts to happen. The things that once seemed confusing begin to make sense. The questions that followed you for years no longer feel as heavy because pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together. This is the moment when divine truth starts being revealed. For a long time, you have been looking at individual events without being able to see the entire picture. You saw the closed door, but not the danger behind it. You saw the delay, but not the preparation it was creating. You saw the loss, but not the protection it was providing. Because your view was limited to the present moment, many experiences felt unfair, unnecessary, or difficult to understand. But God sees the beginning and the end at the same time. What feels confusing from a human perspective often makes perfect sense from a divine perspective. There were situations where you thought you were being rejected, when in reality you were being redirected. There were relationships that ended because they could not accompany you into your next season. There were opportunities that disappeared because they were connected to a path that was never meant for you. At the time, those events felt painful. Now you are beginning to understand that some of God's greatest blessings arrive disguised as unanswered prayers. Divine truth rarely arrives all at once. It usually comes layer by layer. One realization leads to another. One answer unlocks another question. Gradually, your understanding expands until you can finally see connections that were invisible before. You may suddenly realize why certain people entered your life and why they left, you may discover that a difficult season taught you skills and wisdom you now rely upon every day. You may recognize that challenges you once resented were actually preparing you for responsibilities you could not have handled back then. This is one of the most powerful moments in a chosen person's journey because revelation changes everything. When understanding arrives, pain begins to lose its power. The struggle may still be part of your story, but it no longer controls your perspective. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you begin asking, "What was this preparing me for?" That shift changes everything. Many people spend years searching for answers while overlooking the fact that some answers can only be understood after the season has passed. During the storm, visibility is limited. During the battle, emotions are strong. During the waiting period, frustration can cloud perspective. But once you emerge from those experiences, clarity begins to appear. You start seeing patterns. You realize that every setback pushed you toward greater growth. Every challenge strengthened an area of weakness. Every delay prevented you from moving ahead before you were ready. What once appeared random begins to reveal intentional design, and there is another truth that many chosen ones are about to discover. God was working even when it seemed like nothing was happening. The silence was not abandonment. The waiting was not neglect. The delay was not denial. While you were wondering where God was, He was arranging circumstances, protecting your future, developing your character, and positioning opportunities that had not yet reached the right time. The fact that you could not see His work did not mean His work had stopped. This revelation often becomes one of the greatest sources of peace. It allows you to stop carrying the weight of old confusion. It allows you to release unanswered questions that have burdened your heart. It allows you to trust that even the chapters you still do not fully understand are part of a larger plan. Some revelations will come through experiences. Others will come through unexpected conversations, opportunities, or moments of reflection. You may look back one day and suddenly realize why a particular event happened exactly when it did. What confused you for years may become clear in a single moment. That is the power of divine truth. It does not merely give information. It transforms perspective. It helps you see your journey through a different lens. It reveals that your story has been guided by purpose even when it appeared chaotic. It shows you that every season carried meaning, even the painful ones. And perhaps the greatest revelation of all is this: you were never forgotten. The tests had purpose. The waiting had purpose. The hidden season had purpose. Every chapter was leading toward this moment of understanding. Now the truth is beginning to emerge, and with every new revelation, you are moving closer to the reason you were chosen in the first place. Now that the testing season has done its work, your faith has proven strong, the hidden season is ending, and divine truth is being revealed, there is one question that naturally follows: what comes next? The answer is that a new assignment awaits you. Many people assume that the purpose of God's testing is simply to reward those who endure. But the deeper truth is that preparation always points toward purpose. The lessons you learned were not only meant to help you survive difficult seasons. They were meant to equip you for what comes after those seasons. Every challenge developed something within you because God was preparing you for a greater assignment. Think about everything you have experienced, the patience you developed during delays, the wisdom you gained through disappointment, the compassion that grew from your struggles, the strength that emerged from your battles. None of these qualities appeared by accident. They were formed intentionally because your future requires them. This is why your journey has felt different from the journeys of many others. You were not simply being prepared for comfort. You were being prepared for responsibility. Chosen people are often called to carry influence, inspire others, solve problems, lead with integrity, and make a difference in places where their presence is needed most. For a long time, it may have felt as though life was taking more from you than it was giving, but now you are beginning to understand that every lesson was adding value to your future. The things that once seemed like burdens are becoming tools. The experiences that once felt painful are becoming sources of wisdom. The battles you survived are becoming testimonies that can encourage others who face similar challenges. This is often how a divine assignment begins. It does not always arrive with a dramatic announcement. Sometimes it begins quietly. A new opportunity appears. A new direction becomes clear. A new passion awakens within you. A door opens that previously remained closed. What seemed impossible suddenly becomes available. Gradually, you begin sensing that you are being guided towards something greater than yourself. The important thing to understand is that your assignment is connected to everything you have already endured. God rarely wastes experiences. The very areas where you struggled often become the areas where you are called to serve, lead, teach, or inspire. The wisdom you gained through hardship becomes valuable because it cannot be learned from books alone. There are people you will be able to help because you understand their struggles. There are situations you will be able to navigate because you have already survived similar challenges. There are opportunities you will be able to recognize because your preparation has trained your perspective. This is why the testing season was necessary. Without preparation, the assignment could become overwhelming. Without growth, the responsibility could become too heavy. Without wisdom, the opportunities could be mishandled. But now you are not the same person you were when the journey began. You have changed. You have grown. You have become stronger in ways you may not even fully recognize yet. And that growth is creating room for what comes next. You may not see the entire path ahead, and that is perfectly normal. God rarely reveals every detail at once. Instead, He provides enough direction for the next step. As you take that step, additional clarity follows. As you remain faithful, new opportunities emerge. As you continue trusting, the assignment becomes clearer. One of the greatest mistakes people make is assuming that purpose always looks grand or public. Sometimes the most powerful assignments happen quietly through everyday acts of faithfulness, kindness, leadership, and service. The size of the assignment matters less than the impact it creates. What matters is that you are ready. The testing season has developed resilience. The waiting season has developed patience. The revelations you have received have developed understanding. Together, these experiences have prepared you for responsibilities that would have been difficult to carry before. This is not the end of your story. In many ways, it is the beginning of a new chapter. The previous seasons were focused on preparation. The next season will focus on purpose. The previous chapter was about becoming ready. The next chapter is about applying everything you have learned. The door in front of you is different from the doors behind you. The opportunities ahead are connected to a greater plan. The calling that awaits you has been shaped by every lesson, every battle, every prayer, and every moment of perseverance. You passed the test because you were being prepared for an assignment that only you can fulfill, and now we arrive at the moment that everything has been leading toward. The tests, the waiting, the hidden season, the revelations, and the preparation for your new assignment were never separate events. They were all connected parts of a greater process. Each chapter was building toward this truth: your reward and breakthrough are near. For so long it may have seemed as though your efforts were producing very little. You continued showing up. You continued praying. You continued believing. Yet the results often appeared delayed. There were moments when you wondered whether all the sacrifices were worth it. You questioned whether anyone saw your struggles. You questioned whether your persistence mattered. You questioned whether your prayers were reaching heaven at all. But now you are beginning to understand something powerful. Nothing was wasted. Not a single tear was wasted. Not a single prayer was wasted. Not a single act of faith was wasted. Not a single moment of endurance was wasted. Everything you carried through those difficult seasons has become part of the foundation for what is coming next. Many people misunderstand breakthrough. They imagine it as a sudden event that appears without warning. Sometimes it does happen suddenly, but more often breakthrough is the visible result of years of invisible preparation. It is the moment when everything that has been developing beneath the surface finally becomes visible. Think back to all the challenges you have survived. At the time, each one felt like an obstacle. Each one seemed to slow you down. Yet looking back now, you can see how every experience added something valuable to your journey. The hardships developed strength. The disappointments developed wisdom. The delays developed patience. The waiting developed faith. You were becoming the person capable of receiving what is now approaching. This is why God often delays blessings until preparation is complete. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A breakthrough received before someone is ready can create problems instead of solutions. But when preparation and opportunity meet at the right moment, extraordinary things can happen. That moment is closer than many chosen ones realize. The signs may not always appear dramatic at first. Sometimes the breakthrough begins with a conversation. Sometimes it begins with a new opportunity. Sometimes it begins with a realization that changes your perspective. Sometimes it begins with a door opening that previously remained closed. What makes the breakthrough powerful is not always the size of the event. It is the timing. Because after everything you have endured, even a small sign of movement carries enormous significance. It confirms that the season is changing. It confirms that the waiting had purpose. It confirms that your faith was not misplaced. There is also another truth that many people overlook. The reward is not only found in what you receive. The reward is also found in who you have become. Years ago, you may have prayed for blessings without realizing that God was first creating the character necessary to sustain them. Today you possess wisdom that you did not have before. You possess strength that was developed through hardship. You possess resilience that could only be gained through experience. Those qualities are rewards in themselves. Yet God's work does not stop there. Chosen ones often discover that after seasons of testing come seasons of restoration. Opportunities begin appearing where there were once obstacles. Relationships align with greater purpose. New levels of peace replace old confusion. Direction replaces uncertainty. Favor appears in places where resistance once dominated. This does not mean life suddenly becomes perfect. Every journey continues to include challenges. But there is a significant difference between facing challenges while feeling lost and facing challenges while walking in purpose. When you understand that God is guiding your path, obstacles lose much of their power to discourage you. The breakthrough you have been waiting for may not look exactly the way you imagined. In fact, it often arrives differently than expected. God's plans frequently exceed human expectations because He sees possibilities that we cannot see. That is why it is important to remain open to the ways He chooses to work. Sometimes the answer to a prayer arrives through a path you never considered. Sometimes the blessing comes wrapped inside an opportunity you almost overlooked. Sometimes the breakthrough begins so quietly that only later do you realize how important the moment truly was. The key is to recognize that movement is happening. The season of endless waiting is not meant to last forever. The season of confusion is not meant to last forever. The season of testing is not meant to last forever. You have already walked through those chapters. You have already endured the preparation. You have already demonstrated the faith required to continue moving forward when the outcome remained hidden. Now you stand at the edge of a new chapter. The tests have revealed your strength. The waiting has revealed your faith. The hidden season has revealed God's timing. The revelations have revealed His purpose. The assignment has revealed your calling. And the breakthrough will reveal why every part of the journey mattered. You passed the test. Now it is time to step into what God has been preparing for you all along.